Hey, Marlon, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
How it's been a couple of weeks since I've seen you, I think. How have you
Yes, it
been?
had. I've been good. And yourself?
Not too bad. I think last time we talked, I got you set up with playing with Tim. Did you get a chance to play with him?
I played them once. I haven't gone back to it yet. Uh, I think again, it's a matter of concentration. Uh, I got behind but I got behind myself. So
Sure.
I get that ironed out, and I'll give him another contact, and we'll play again. But the only drawback was the connection. It's not made for cell phones, and I couldn't make the connection work on my computer. So anyway, I'll try to get that worked out too.
Yeah, I wish I could help you on the technical side, but as you know, I'm probably even less savvy as you are. So, well, I'm glad that you had a good time. Anyways, real nice guy. And
Yeah,
I have a lesson with him, I think, this week. So I'll see if I'm sure that he enjoyed playing with you as well.
yeah. I
Um,
didn't realize that we were playing to an audience.
he streamed it.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Huh? No kidding. Well, yeah, I wasn't aware that he was going to do that. I know he likes to showcase his lessons on YouTube, which I've given him permission for. But yeah, I didn't realize he was going to do that with you. So sorry about that. If that changed anything for
Well,
you.
I mean, hey, you play the game that the guy wants to play. It's just a game. So
Yeah,
just do it. Whatever curves come, keep your eye on the ball. That's all.
absolutely, absolutely. So how have you been shooting?
Uh, Pretty good.
Good.
The business of taking a number of practice strokes at the ball until I got rid of the collywobbles is improving my aim considerably.
Good. I'm really happy to hear that. How's your positioning been?
Uh, that's improving too, because as I soften up, uh, I get better results.
Okay.
Now, I've also started playing defense, and that works too.
Good. You and I had we'd gone over it a couple times. Did you get a chance to play around with the back of the ball aiming, and have you found any better success with it?
I am absolutely miserable at back of the ball aiming. I cannot hit a rail with back of the ball aiming.
Okay. So let's talk about a different way. Instead of using back of the ball aiming, let's talk about a different approach to doing the same thing so that hopefully you'll be able to improve your defense accuracy. So I'll walk you through this instead of back of the ball aiming, because the problem with back of the ball aiming, of course, is that we're trying to imagine a spot, and that's not going to work out very well for us. So this works. So normally with back of the ball aiming, what we would do if we wanted to try and land that cue ball over here, we'd use the back side of the ball to aim it. Instead, what we can do, which is the exact same thing, but we're looking at the front side of the ball, is we're going to use the 30-degree rule. 30-degree rule, well, first path we got to figure out, I'm going to use the straight ball to demonstrate the path. I would like the cue ball to roll this way, so it tucks in behind here. So I got to pick a spot on the rail to send that cue ball towards. Just using some common sense, I can see that if I was to send the cue ball this way towards the pocket, it's going to be too far. So I've got to first use a reasonable estimate as to where I'm going to be sending that cue ball. So I'm going to place this piece of chalk here. Now, whether that's the right spot or not, I don't know. This is just a guesstimate. And this is something that we can all do. The next part is I'm going to use the 30-degree rule, the peace sign. Do you remember talking about the peace sign for the rolling cue ball hits?
Yeah.
Okay. If I was to use my peace sign with the rolling cue ball hit at this location, depending on how I'm hitting this ball tells me where it's going to go to the rail. So normally for a rolling cue ball hit, we would use our first finger on the line at which the cue ball is coming from, and that tells us where the second finger tells us where the cue ball is going to go. I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'll do it in a backwards thinking manner, where I'll place my second finger pointed where I want the cue ball to go, and the first finger tells me where I have to aim. Does that make sense? How it's the same thing, but looking at it in a backwards way. Okay.
Yep.
In doing this, now I have a contact point on the front side of the three ball that we can see. And I hope that this will help you to do what it is that you're looking to do as far as the defense goes. It's the same thing as the back of the ball aiming, but you don't have to guess a point. You can see the spot. Do you want to try and play with this and see if this helps you?
Okay. Can you turn your camera sideways?
Sure can.
Interesting. Now you're sideways. The picture fills my frame. But anyway.
Well, you're sideways to me too.
Oh, well, go back the other way then.
Is this better?
Yeah. Now you're okay. Oh, I see. It's mine that's sideways.
I believe so. I can adjust for whatever's best for you. So.
Well, spend all day trying to figure out what to do. Okay. Now I want my cue ball to come off that rail and end up over here.
Yes.
So I got an angle about like from here to here to here. So I want this to go here and Yeah, that's about 30 degrees. So, and hit it high, right?
A rolling cue ball. So it doesn't have to be spinning high, but just high enough where the cue ball is rolling and not sliding when it hits. Well done.
Okay.
Is that way easier for you to see than the back of the ball?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, we can keep going with this if you want to. I think even with that first shot you showed me, it seems like you understand this and you'll be able to master it with some practice. Do you agree, or do you want to try playing with it some more?
I get the idea. Yeah. I get
Okay,
the idea.
good.
It's the application. I have to go back to that Cowboy game and apply it to that. But not every shot's a 30-degree shot in that game. I think that's the drag. Well, that's the other drag. Is it just I just work with 30-degree shots on this?
For this application, it's only 30-degree shots. Now,
Okay.
that being said, there's no reason why you can't transfer that same knowledge for tangent line shots. So when we're moving the cue ball, it's best if we use the two methods that we know are true. 30 degrees for rolling cue balls and 90 degrees for a sliding cue ball.
No.
So the only difference would be if it's sliding, then you find your 90-degree path that brings us to that same location, which we could do using our cue and say, okay, I want the ball to go here, so there's my contact point, and I need to make sure that the cue ball is sliding when it hits. So we treat it just like a stop shot, right? So that it with our initial way of doing it with the 30-degree rule, we said, I want to go there, so I'm going to hit here. That's a rolling cue ball. We can also say my tangent line to bring me there is here, which means if I send that 10 ball into this line and I treat it as if it's a sliding cue ball, I treat it just like it's a stop shot, but I hit the contact point that sends the 10 ball towards this point of the side pocket. That brings me on the tangent line, which is the same thing for the 30-degree. The difference is how full do I hit the 10 ball? So if I want to go to the chalk with a 30-degree hit, I would be sending the 10 ball to this location.
So where?
A 30-degree hit, I'd be sending the cue ball. I'd be sending the 10 ball to this location with a 12 ball in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
The difference is if I'm using I'll use the 8 ball for my 90 degrees. Here's my 90 degrees. That's where the 10 ball would go if I'm using a stun shot. Both result in the cue ball hitting the same spot on the rail. It really depends on what I'm trying to do. So to your point with Cowboy Pool, yeah, we can use both 90 and 30. Very good. So that's the line. Now, if we want to hit it soft, yeah. So what change could we do to still make sure that the cue ball is sliding, but to hit with much less speed?
Well, hit with a lot less speed.
Sure, but if you hit with a lot less speed without changing Q-tip position, it might be rolling by the time it hits there. So what would you change on the Q-tip position?
In that case, go lower.
That's exactly right.
Went lower.
You went lower, and it looked like you hit it a little bit fuller too. It didn't look like you hit it as thin, but maybe you did. I'm not sure. It's tough to tell on the angle. If the cue ball followed the tangent line, then you did it perfectly. To me, it looked like the cue ball went forward of the tangent line. But again, it could be different because of the angle. The parallax is sometimes difficult for me to tell those things.
Well, this is 30. So this is 90. I mean,
Okay. So if the cue ball followed 90, then you executed it perfectly. It was just a difference of speed.
okay, well, I've got to practice this a little bit to see where the thing comes out, like you said.
Yeah, it's half the fun of this is experimenting and seeing what happens when you use different cue ball positions.
Okay.
Something I'll just mention to you is that if we wanted to use the tangent line shot or any shot, let's say we wanted to control the speed and not move this ball very far, but we want the cue ball to move very far. Well, we could do the same thing, but I can use side spin. And side spin will help that ball float around without having to hit it very hard. It moves a lot more than without using the side spin.
Okay, yeah, I remember that now.
So, is there anything in particular? I wanted to address that just because I know we'd gone over that in different ways, and I'm always trying to find the right way for you to get it. Was there anything in particular you'd really like to go over with today's lesson?
No, nothing has come up. Everything in general seems to be working out well. I don't know, maybe you just need to look at what I'm doing and see what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time, I think, since I saw you play the Ghost. You and I had done a lot of the training since Ghost, working on just a few balls at a time. So I'd like to see where you're at when we put it all together, from the break to pattern play, positioning, and shot making. And as discussed, when you're playing the Ghost, you can always choose to play a defense. As long as you execute the defense and you can't see the ball, that doesn't count against you, and you can just take ball in hand. So it's lots of reward for playing a good ball in hand defense.
Okay.
As you're racking, I'll share this story with you because it was funny. I got a phone call a couple weeks ago from a man named Sept here. And in talking to him on the phone, you could tell very much so that he was from Long Island. He had a very thick Long Island Jewish accent. And in speaking with him, when you don't see somebody, you kind of associate a picture in your mind. So I'm imagining a a very small man. Because of his voice, I did not expect him to be very large by any means. I expected a small guy with glasses and a little mustache. And I had this picture of him showing up in a Cadillac, and he drove out here for his lesson. It was about a 4.5 hour drive for him. And out comes this guy who's about 6'6", 300 pounds. He's
Whoa,
enormous.
jeez.
And he was so far off from what I expected to see. It was funny.
Yeah, that does get funny. You're right. Okay, let's see what happens here. Uh,
So starting off with the brake, I mean that did work out okay. You don't really have any problems, but I would caution you not to use more power than you can control. So if the cue ball goes shoving off left or right, then that means you didn't transfer all of the energy through the rack, and it was an inefficient brake.
okay. Yeah, I see that went right.
Yes. So I would say you probably contacted half of the first ball, which
Oh,
means only half the energy was transferred, and you could have used half the speed with a full ball to get the same effect.
okay, okay. Now, 1 to 3, this is a good stop shot. Then I got a good angle there. Then 3 to 4 is not good. I'll have to think of something. I'd rather be over here for the 4 or over here. Maybe I could roll it.
I like the idea of rolling it. Move the cue ball as little as possible.
4 to 5 is absolutely miserable. I'd rather be here. Well, maybe again rolling it. 5 to 6 is a good shot. 6 to 7 is terrible again. I'd have to come off here. Do something really crazy. Maybe just do a defense shot by that time. I doubt I'll get that far. Okay. It's really good. I'll start here with a stop shot. High first shot. Now 3 to 4.
How many pockets does the 4 go into?
Well, it doesn't go there. It goes there, there, there. That's not much. That's good. Okay, so here. Just about anybody around here. So come off of this.
Yeah. Yeah, for playing the highest percentage, exactly what you just did there. You saw it goes in the side and the corner. So we say, okay, my goal is I want to try and go for the side because that's the least path. But if I over-roll it, I'm still okay because I've got the corner.
All right. Okay, I didn't quite get that. This shot, I'm going to come off here and come out here. But I don't want to be there for the 4. I want to be here for the 4. This blocks that.
what if we go high on the cue ball when we hit the 3 and we roll forward so we can put the 4 in the side pocket?
Okay, yeah. All right.
And what I meant by that with the percentages is if you go too high, if the cue ball rolls too far forward for the side pocket, you still have the corner pocket.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Beautiful.
Okay, now I got 4, I'm gonna come this way and hit the 8 ball. I'd rather be here for the 5. Should we roll this thing? I'm just not gonna get over here.
So there's something we haven't discussed about is using an object ball as if it's a rail. Can you identify, if you were to hit very high on this cue ball, what part of the 8 ball it's going to catch?
Just about
Yeah, the left
middle.
side.
Huh?
The middle? It,
But
a little bit
not the-
middle or maybe a little bit on the left?
Yeah,
So if it's going to catch a little bit on the left, well, that'll help you get to where you want to be for the 5.
all right, so that's an odd shot.
Yeah, it's something we haven't discussed yet, but you'll be okay. I would go very, very high on the cue ball and hit this with the speed that the idea is you want the cue ball to hit the 4, graze the 8, hit the rail that's over there by the 5 and 7, come back out. The reason why you want this type of speed that potentially hits the rail and comes back out again is because if things go awry and they don't work exactly as planned, you don't want the 8 to block the 5 in the corner pocket on the next shot. And also, let's say that because we don't know exactly where the cue ball is going to go, there's a possibility that the cue ball could hit the 5 and the 7, giving you a different shot. So if we play this shot too soft, you could actually create more of a problem. Your percentages are better by hitting it with more power than less. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Good luck. Way up high on the cue ball. There we go. That's better. There you go. So
Got exactly what I wanted.
and I hope that made sense why we wanted to err on the side of harder, the firmer, rather than softer. Was exactly what happened there.
Yeah, if it had hit the rail, it would come back out and here. And instead it hit the 7 and slowed down, but put me in great position.
Yeah, it's a great shot. Nice shot.
Now 5 to 6 is okay. 6 to 7 is going to be another one of those nightmares.
So I wanted to talk to you about that 6 to 7. When we had all the balls on the table and you were starting your initial plan, your first instinct is that 6 to the 7 is going to be tough. I got to move the cue ball around. And of course, you didn't give yourself enough credit. You didn't think you'd get this far. Well, congratulations, you sure did. But that being said, the first instinct should be if you had ball in hand on the 6, how would you get from the 7, from the 6 to the 7? Well, of course, you'd probably go side pocket follow it forward. Based on where the 5 is, where you can get the cue ball to, how would you shoot the 6 to get to the 7? The path of least resistance.
Okay, this is gonna come out here. I shoot there. Now, it kind of depends. From here, it's gonna go this way, and I'm okay. From here, I'm going that way, and it's gonna be a miss.
So the answer here really depends on which side of the 6 ball you land on.
I
When
want to
you-
go here.
You want to be on the low side of it, right?
I want to be on this side.
Yes. What happens if we don't get there is what you're worried about is having to go 3 rails. So it's the most important thing about this 5 is following forward enough where you're on the right side of the 6 to make the 7 an easy shot.
Okay, so I want to go roll it. Try to come here and go that way, or at least stay on the inside of it.
Well, even if the cue ball rolls forward from that 5, the cue ball can stay in the same corner as the 5 is. What you don't want is a shot on the 6 that causes the cue ball to go to the left.
Right, correct.
You
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to, and you also don't want to be straight on it. So you want to. So what I like to do is stand behind the 6 ball as if I'm going to put the 6 in the side pocket. And I lay my cue down here and I say, okay, I have to get the cue past this line. Because if I land on this line or short of it, I'm going to have a bad time. So as long as I go forward of that line, I'll be just fine.
So this line somewhere, anywhere, which means it's going to come off here. If I roll it, it may go here and come straight out.
This is where a little bit of right spin might help you.
Actually, looking at the angle here, well, yeah, I could wind up straight. So
This is a difficult shot, especially with the bridge. But I'm really happy to see how far you've gotten, and even just knowing where you need to go, whether you can get there or not. Well done.
you said a little right spin.
A little right spin will grab the rail and help bring it forward.
Too hard.
Too hard. But you can see how the right spin grabbed the rail and drove it forward more than top would have.
Yeah. Okay, this is a scratch. So, but I can't draw the thing, so my only choice is to.
So you're right, it's a scratch if it goes to the corner pocket. You'll scratch in the side if the cue ball is sliding and if you're hitting it hard enough to make it go there. And like you said, you can't really get underneath the cue ball to make it slide at that point. So I wouldn't worry about the scratch. The cue ball will probably be rolling by the time it hits that 6 ball. And a rolling cue ball won't follow 90 degrees. It follows how much?
Well, it'll go 60 degrees.
30. with a rolling cue ball. There you go.
There's very little angle here. I'm hitting this
Yep.
right about there, which means it would go off about there. Is that correct?
Right. That's correct. It'll start heading towards the corner pocket. So then all we have to do is just control the speed. And that'll be easy enough to do. A pocket speed on the cue ball or the 6 ball is probably almost perfect shot for the 7. Well done. Very nicely done. All right, let's finish strong here, man. I've never seen you run out of table, and I don't want to jinx you.
This comes off here. That's my shot. So I'm right up here. That's good.
So you popped up with that shot. Let's go ahead and set that shot up again because I know you can do better with that. You just popped up. That's all. Be confident. You know the shot. Much better.
Yeah, I got the collie wobbles out of it. When I take the time to do that, by the time I shoot, I've got a much better feel for how hard to hit it.
Good, good. And that the feel, that's the word. You know, everything we do is mechanical. I can't teach you feel. And now that you're finding that on your own, you're really coming into your game. It's wonderful to see. All right, so you made a grave mistake. I'm going to have you set that shot up again, and I'm going to have you shoot it a different way. Now, everything you and I do is all about routines, and it's always about doing the exact same thing, the exact same way, over and over. So you just ran 8 balls while considering putting the ball in the pocket and getting shape for the next one. Until you got to the 9 ball where all you thought about was putting the ball in the pocket and you didn't think about getting shape on the next one. That's a variable. So I want you to imagine that there's a 10th ball on the table and that you're trying to get the cue ball to get positioned for that ball. Where's the 10th ball going to be? What's the easiest place for the cue ball to go? And that's where you want to put the cue ball. So now, when you shoot the 9 ball, achieve the position that you're choosing as well for that imaginary 10th ball. and you'll significantly improve your money ball percentages.
I don't know, put there, so I've got to wind up here.
Okay. So however you shoot this 9 ball, make sure the cue ball goes where you told it to.
So I got to hit it with some top spin.
Sure. So the cue ball didn't go where you wanted it to go. Well, so we'll try it again. And our focus, of course, is making the cue ball go where you want it to go, which means we got to hit a little bit harder than that. There we go. So you achieved the cue ball location, and lo and behold, the object ball went in too. So when you're shooting on the money ball, whether it be the 8 ball, the 9 ball, the 10 ball, whatever game you're playing, the best, I mean, people always say, treat it exactly like the rest of the balls on the table. But it's hard to do when you know that that's the ball that's going to finish the rack and there's nothing else to shoot at. So the best way that you can treat it like the rest of the balls is to try and achieve position using that ball the same way as you do with the rest of them. So really nice run. You're right. You are shooting well.
I've never shot a rack that well ever.
Well, I was very honored to see it. That was great. The only
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll gloat now.
Please do. How much are your lessons? So the only thing that I really saw that I would like you to continue to work on as far as pattern play goes is looking for the easiest path. I don't think that you've built the confidence yet to realize you can put the cue ball wherever you want. You have the skills necessary to do so. And so in things like reading that 5, 6, 7 from the initial rack break, you automatically assumed that the cue ball is going to be in a place where you don't like it to be from the 6 to the 7. And you forgot that you have control over that. So part of that's going to come with practice and building confidence in your own abilities. I think at this point, you're still kind of blown away at the things you can do sometimes, which is fine. But have more confidence in yourself. Same thing happened when you missed that 7 ball. When I saw you pop up on that shot, and you didn't pop up on any other shots, your mechanics looked fantastic. And you know, I did share that video with the one student, and I said, hey, you got to look at this. You know, there's different things that you're doing all the time that are just picture perfect, and that rack looked like that. And then all of a sudden, when we get to the 7, I think what happened was that was not a take it for granted. There was some sort of lack of confidence, whether it be in your aim or something didn't feel right in your stance, and you stroked it anyways, because all of a sudden you hit it softer than any other shot you did. Same thing with that 9 ball, right? That first 9 ball, you hit it much softer. It just looked like all your confidence went away. And if you had shot those 2 balls exactly the same way as you shot the other 7 balls, you would have never missed either one of those. So how can we build on your confidence? Well, one of the best ways we can do that is to focus on those processes and let the results happen on their own. When you focus on your processes and you're very methodical, you're taking the 3 practice strokes, you come into your shot, pre-shot routine's the same. Everything is just lined up and everything works exactly the way that you told it to. When all of a sudden the results, and I might have even gotten in your head saying, man, you're about to run this rack out. That was probably my fault. But when we think about the results, then the processes change. And that's when the results change too. So,
I've I've done that in a pinch and
yeah.
blew I blew an entire state championship doing that.
Ah, man, that in which sport? Uh,
Uh, Figure skating. I was 18, 19.
hmm
I started thinking about the trophy instead of my routine. My routine was to think about trees and just let my body cut the circle because
Yeah,
I was trained well enough for everything automatic. And occasionally a move, I would try to demonstrate that as being a little better than someone else I saw. Well, in the final, I had in the I thought I told you this story. Anyway,
well, you told me some stories about figure skating, but I don't remember this one.
well, in the eliminations, I was 1-2-1. You know how the judges hold up their numbers,
Mm.
and nobody else was close. I mean, there was 2, 6, 7 for second place, and 3, 9, 12 for third. The competition was all over. So come finals, I mean, I got fifth in the competition at my worst. Uh, but what I did was I got nervous and I did not calm myself. My calming method was to think about trees. And I wasn't thinking about trees, I was thinking about the trophy, just like you're talking about the 9-ball trophy. And
Yeah.
that was my ruin. I've actually done that in trial work too. Uh, I mean, the concentration on the details is is what does it. Uh, I was watching our local football team go out and absolutely blow their last game after getting national coverage, uh, doing what I know how to do, and that is lose my concentration.
So, how do we make this no longer a pattern? Because it sounds like it's been with you for nearly 50 years. How do we
Yeah,
break this now?
well, I suppose the first thing is do is what you told me, and that is uh, I'm not okay. I will tell you what I probably did on the 7, and I believe I remember doing this. I just did not stay with the shot. You said I
Hmm.
came up too quick. Part of doing these practice strokes is that the last stroke I watch closely to be sure that it goes where I intended it to go. Now
Yes.
I do that on my most important drill until I've got that thing going absolutely straight through the ball. Uh, and I don't remember what happened after I hit the ball, which means I didn't do any, I didn't cause anything to happen after I hit the ball. So that is what I failed to do in that shot. And the
So the
9 ball,
process broke down.
the what?
The process broke down.
Okay, all right. And the 9 ball, I couldn't tell you what I think happened. I don't know.
And that's fair. The process was different for the 9 ball, where again, I believe that it was you didn't have in mind of where the cue ball is going to go. You only focused on putting the 9 ball in, which is a very different process than the other 8 shots you did. So,
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I get your point. That's right. Just stay the whole mental thing.
so if when we start getting down to that with that 7 and the 9, where does the concentration go? At some point, something changed, and I believe it was probably just like with your figure skating. You got your mind on the trophy. You were thinking about, I'm about to run this rack out before the 7 even went in. Maybe whatever happened, the process changed. Whether that's a cause or an effect, that who knows. But
At the 7, yes. Before then, I thought, did I miss something? No, I guess I've been doing all right. Uh, and no, uh, it became possible at the 7.
oh, it was possible from the one.
Well,
I had more
my
confidence in you than you did.
right.
Have you ever heard of the book called The Inner Game of Tennis?
Oh, I got about a third of the way through it, lost interest. That's he. It's a one-trick pony. It's get your mind uh, off the last lesson is what he's saying.
Yeah,
And he just says it over and over again, through 200 pages, and I lost
you're right.
interest. Hmm?
I say you're right. You're absolutely right. I read it one time, and I don't want to read it again. It is something I suggest to some players to get in their own heads or forget things, but maybe the trees thing that because that's something that you're familiar with. Doing that, especially when you start feeling, as soon as you get that thought in your mind that I'm about to win this rack or I'm about, you start having that results focused instead of process driven mentality. Whatever can calm your mind and get you back to, I have a job to do, might help you. So maybe it's the trees, but whatever the heck that you can do to help calm that mind and get back to the process, that's what's going to keep you on the winning side of things.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Trial work was different. There's never a moment of truth. It's an accumulation of things, and you get a little worse at one spot and better at another, and but it was still the total of the preparation and having a plan that you stay with from beginning to end. Well, anyway, that's another career. That's behind me.
Well, there's a saying that we use, and that's that you earn your trophies during practice. You just go to the tournament to pick it up. And
Uh,
maybe that's
Entry.
the same thing that you're saying with the preparation.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. I'd like to. I'm very, very happy with that rack. And like I say, the only thing that I saw were the things that I had mentioned to you. I want to make sure that you still walk away with something different. So let's talk about. I want to show you some fun shots, or at least a shot that comes up from time to time. Did we talk about pocket point compression?
No. Oh yeah.
Or
We did.
where we force the ball past the pocket point?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about avoiding double hits. How about that?
That's good. I do that.
So, how do we know it's a double hit in the first place?
I feel it.
Sometimes you
and
can.
it's close.
Okay. Sometimes we can tell. Sometimes we can't. These balls are very close together, right? Is this a double hit?
Well, probably the cue went all the way through as far as the second ball.
That is how you can tell. The cue ball will travel at the same speed as the object ball. Is this a double hit? Come on, stay still. There we go.
Less likely because the cue tip did not travel as far as the object ball.
Yeah, the cue ball went at a different speed. You could see that it paused before taking off. That was spin that carried it forward. So recognizing how to tell a foul is key number one. A lot of times, especially in league play, here these balls they're my thumb width apart. So I'm going to say 3/4 of an inch. A lot of times you'll see players, they immediately elevate their cue. They believe that there's a rule saying that you must elevate your cue. There's no such rule. That's a suggestion that you can do to avoid the double hit. But even with an elevated cue, you can see that we can still cause the balls to travel at the same speed, which means it is a foul. But you will come across some players that believe that that was a legal shot just because they elevated their cue. Couldn't be further from the truth. The referee will always look at what the cue ball does. That's the only true way to identify if it was a foul or not. So we know how to avoid the double hit. I won't bother showing you how to stroke the spin shot that I did because that's not necessary. But what I will show you is how to avoid the double hits. So if the balls are very, very close, one of the things that we can do to avoid the double hit is to jack up. We're going to elevate to about 45 degrees and use a short poke stroke in order to be able to control that ball. If the ball stops, even if it goes forward or backwards, as long as it does not travel at the same speed as the object ball, that is a perfectly legal shot. That gets a little bit trickier when the balls are further away. It's much more difficult to elevate when you are at a distance. How the heck would we ever elevate this shot? Well, I'm going to tell you, you probably can. The balls are still the same distance. I'm going to bring this back because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. What I can do is I can bring my tip right up real close to that ball. I'm going to drop my index finger down at the location where it meets with the rail. The idea is I'm going to use my finger as a brake. So if I bring that tip real close to the ball, I grab my cue right at the end where it intersects with that with the rail. Then I can do a full stroke, and it'll cause my break. I'll compress my finger. It doesn't feel good, I can tell you that, but it's a legal shot. My finger stopped my cue from going forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a nifty little trick that you can do to help avoid that. I'll show you one other very common thing that you may come across, and maybe you've already done this, where you and your opponent, you get into one of these battles, where you and the opponent are nudging each other, trying to tighten it up. And what happens? We end up getting into a potential foul situation, right? Have you seen this before?
No.
Okay. So this is a very common thing that does happen where nobody wants to take.
I've seen it I've seen similar setup in competitions.
Yeah.
On video.
And they'll go back and forth 12 times because nobody wants to give up this ball, especially when it's the money ball. If it gets down to the 8 or the 9, you're shooting at the same thing. This happens a lot. So one of the things that we can do, this is a perfectly legal shot, is you can bring the tip underneath the equator of that cue ball. I know from the camera angle you can't see it, but my tip right now is on the cloth, and it's just underneath the curve, underneath the equator of the cue ball. Make sense?
Yeah.
And a legal stroke and pull is one continuous motion. This is a legal shot. You just pick it straight up. And that prevents the double hit. Something to play with.
Interesting.
So you can even do it. It does. Nobody says that you have to even be behind the cue. There's no reason why you can't come over here and do it the same way. You can do it backwards. So with that, you and your opponent now have nudged back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until finally the ball is frozen. And The rule states that something must touch a rail after contact, right? Or else it's a foul. And the one ball can't count because it's already touching the rail.
Oh, that's why the referee always walks over and puts his hand over the ball that's near the rail.
Bingo. They're looking to see is it touching.
So then, okay, all right. That's a foul that I never could figure out why they called it.
So if I just rolled the cue ball into the one, I'd be giving up a ball in hand because nothing touched the rail after the contact. The one is already there. What a lot of players will try to do is this is where they give up. And they'll either try to bank the one somewhere or they try to earn separation type of defense where they place the one over here and place the cue ball over there. Very difficult, right?
Yeah.
If it's frozen, this is the simplest way, and this usually blows people's minds when I show it to them. The simplest way to fix this problem, the cue ball has to touch a rail. And if I just graze it on the side, of course, I'm giving up the shot. Cue ball has to touch a rail. Hit just slightly below center. Let the rail compression of the one pushing into the rail send the cue ball backwards. And now the cue ball touched this rail. Perfectly legal shot.
Tricky.
It is tricky. It's not a hard shot to do by any means.
Certainly
It's
not.
just one of those things. If you didn't think of it before, well, then you wouldn't think of it.
Yeah, you need that. Yeah, you need that arrow in your quiver sometime. Pretty good.
It's good to have. So
Oh.
now you know how to tell if it's a double hit. You know how to avoid it. A few different ways. You'll just have to practice some of those, and then we discuss some frozen ball techniques. In another lesson, I'll teach you how to aim frozen balls and how to throw them and how to potentially make them too. We'll get into some of that more advanced stuff. You are getting so close to working on some more advanced things because now you can put the ball in, you can control the cue ball, and you have some ideas of pattern plays and defense. Your game is significantly improving, and I think we're just about at the point where we can get back to some more exotic type of things, and like you said, add some more arrows to the quiver.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jim.
Thank you, sir. I'll plan on seeing you next Monday, I guess.
Okay, that's good. Okay, appreciate it. Bye
Have
bye
a great
now.
week. Bye.
You too. Bye.